to recover from a major storm that has hit Florida, and Hurricane Michael in the Panhandle, and has cost us lots of dollars. And so we're going to make those decisions that are necessary for today.
In addition to new members of the legislative body, there are also new members in the executive branch. We've got a new cabinet and a new governor. Let's talk about and a new Speaker of the House with
Yes.
Oliva. Let's talk about the relationship and how you see it progressing thus far between the governor and the legislature, between you and the Speaker.
Absolutely. First, let me tell you, there's a real positive atmosphere in the state capitol, and I feel it. I hear it from many people in the process, or in the legislature, and those who are working in the process. And it's one of collaboration. I really appreciate the new governor and the way he's approached his role and the work that he's done thus far on major issues that he shares an interest in with the chambers. But most importantly, I feel like he, having come from a legislative process, I think he referred to it as the prison,
yes.
the prison of federal Congress. He understands the value of being in a place where you can get things done, and also understands that in order to get things done, you have to work with your legislative partners. And that has created a true sense of collaboration. And for example, even today, we're going to pass a measure that it was of interest to him to have done early and get through the session. So I'm enthused about that relationship, while at the same time maintaining the autonomy of the Senate. And I've emphasized that as well, that as we do this day-to-day focused work, we recognize that we have a unique role as well as the Florida Senate to work deliberatively and balanced. The Speaker of the House is a dear friend of mine. We've built a relationship over many years. A true gentleman, someone who is very principled and is about business. And so what that means for us and for the members in the chamber is that our session will be about civil discourse, trying to understand and learn from each other, and have meaningful debate and decision making, not gamesmanship or, who's going to hide the ball here or that. And that's how it has worked with myself and Speaker Oliva for many years now, how it's worked since we took the gavels in our respective chambers, and I am optimistic that that's how it will continue to work.
We see and we hear discussed frequently the partisan divide that rests in Washington. We have heard talk of, at times the real spillover here at the state level. What do you anticipate in terms of the degree of partisan divide or any level of animosity? Do you think that how do you think Florida will deal with that in this session?
First of all, you're correct in terms of what we see in Washington, D.C. And really, we see it a lot around the world, and there are many factors for that, including, a day of social media and 24-hour news cycle.
Right.
But that's not how we work here. We have issues that are embraced differently by each party. There are partisan goals that exist, but at the same time, there's a commitment to try to work through those and work together. And that's very, very important. I've asked the Senate to be the example. Maybe by being the example, we could start to change things other places, and including in Washington as a legislature in the third largest state in the union. Leader Audrey Gibson in the Senate, I've worked with her for many, many years, including all my tenure in the Florida House of Representatives. And so we have that mutual respect and that understanding, and she is a straight shooter, and I think that's going to create an atmosphere where we'll debate when we need to debate, and then cooperate when we don't have a difference of opinion.
Has the Senate healed well from some of the difficult challenges and scandals of the last session?
Yes. I mean, we're the Senate. We've been around since the beginning, and we have important work to do, and that's where the focus is. And this is a new era in the legislative process, and like you said, we have this time a new cabinet, new speaker, and new president, many new members, and we're going to be about our business and feel like we're on the right track.
Well, you have a floor session coming up later this afternoon. You mentioned one of the Governor DeSantis's priorities that you will deal with. Talk about that for a moment and what we can expect to see.
Yeah, this afternoon, among other bills, as you recall, there was litigation on medical marijuana, and the issue came up regarding the smokability of it. And Judge Gevers had ruled that in order to comply with the Constitution, you had to allow that, and did it in a very broad manner. Working with the legislature, the governor has asked that litigation be abated to give us a chance to comply, but at the same time make sure we have the proper safeguards in place so as to continue to treat this as a true medical product versus a recreational product. And so the House and Senate have worked together, Senator Brandis and Representative Leader Rodriguez, and our bill will go to the floor this afternoon.
And what are your expectations for debate and for discussion and vote?
Well, I expect that it will, at a minimum, roll over to a third reading, and then it would be taken up for a vote tomorrow, and the vote will be successful in my prediction.
As you're looking at other big unique issues, as we referred to earlier, what are some of the things that you think will rise to the top? There are a number of issues important to you and to others in terms of water quality issues, transportation issues, but what do you think will be the big items to deal with during this legislative session?
Well, and I've already touched on one, and that's how we fund and address the issues that occurred in the Panhandle.
Right, with Hurricane Michael.
Hurricane Michael, and there's a bill that Senator Gaynor and Senator Broxson and Senator Munford have all put together, which they're going to roll out later today, that has many components, including a task force and other programs to address those impacts. It's also going to be a big part of what we do budget-wise. When we came into session and into committee weeks, it was after a long summer of red tide. We had other algae issues, and so those were predominant on people's minds, as they should be. Now, we've made tremendous progress, and under the leadership of President Negron, in terms of moving some of these items forward, but those issues should continue to be in the forefront, and the governor has made that a priority as well. Education always is a big ticket item in the legislative process, and we have put out a package in the Senate under Chair Diaz and Chair Stargel to really empower families and also give more flexibility to and support to our traditional public schools, a balanced package that is going to help provide greater opportunity for families and students. I've been very interested in making sure that we address the growth here in Florida. We have 850 people a day coming to our state. That's a population a little larger than the size of Orlando every year. And our future success depends on whether or not we have the infrastructure to move forward. And so I've challenged the members, and President Lee, who chairs Infrastructure and Security, is moving forward a bill that would fund some plans that are already on the books, but also accelerate and fund planning for some major corridors in the state of Florida that will address issues in the interior. I mean, they'll address the whole state, from evacuation, economic development, access, but in particular, these multi-purpose corridors will provide opportunities for travel, obviously, but also water, sewer, broadband connectivity. And if we continue to be prepared and plan for the future, we'll be able to receive the future in an efficient and effective way.
If you're just joining us, this is Florida Face to Face. I'm Beth Switzer, and this week you are face to face with the President of the Florida Senate, Bill Galvano. Let's stick with the transportation and the multi-use part of this for a moment, because all of that is huge. It's huge in developing, and it's huge in implementing. Talk for a moment about your approach to dealing with this. Is it a multi-phase? Is it something that you roll out in second? Well, go ahead. Yeah, so
no,
it's just so big.
I mean,
it's another one of your big issues.
It is, and these things are multi-phase, and I think if you start at what is the core of the problem that we've had, is that we're growing faster than we're keeping up with infrastructure. And a lot of that is because we've spent our time and focus and finance, our dollars, on mitigating past issues and not planning adequately for the future, for having that long-term vision and having it in such a way that we're prepared in many facets to go forward, even anticipating greater technology advances, like autonomous vehicles and things of that nature that we could be prepared for. And so what the approach we are taking is first to make sure that the funding mechanism that we need for these types of programs is lined up where it should be. And we've had funds that the state has been collecting that were designated or intended for transportation projects that have really not been going there. So initially we're moving dollars into the State Transportation Trust Fund with the direction that a large portion of these dollars start the planning, development, and then ultimately engineering of these corridors, one being the continued extension of the Suncoast Parkway to Georgia, the Turnpike connector to the West Coast, and then under Polk County from Polk down into Collier. We're not laying out this year or legislatively, this is where they have to go, this is where they need to be. We're providing the tools for our department, working with multiple agencies, our Department of Transportation, and to plan these things and be able to keep them on a steady track, and to hopefully break ground in 2003 and move until completion over the next decade or so.
What will you be pleased with coming out of this session as it relates to this complicated phase-oriented approach?
Well, I'd be pleased if we start by having the funds available for the initial planning, and that includes public hearings and things of that nature, so that we're the awareness and the ability to promote that awareness and then plan in light of that awareness is available, and that we've put these funds into the trust fund where they belong, and that this becomes something that is a legislative directive to address the importance of having this internal infrastructure and these internal corridors.
How difficult is it to take on challenges this huge, as well as all the others, some expected, some not, like Hurricane Michael, not expected, I mean, and everything else with existing revenues? How difficult is that?
It is difficult, and that's why we're going to have to be very, very disciplined in our planning and the approach we take. And make no mistake, I made clear just a few days ago when I addressed the Florida Senate that we have a constitutional duty to pass a budget. That's it. And that's where what we have to do, and if we do it right and get it done, then we've been successful. That we need to focus on Florida, not personal agendas. I'm not going to judge the success of this session based on my personal agenda. I won't. It's going to be a collaborative process with lots of input, and we'll get our work done, and it will be meaningful. And we're not here to just be a bill-passing factory. We're going to take pay great attention to what we do and be guided by the quality of our actions.
Now, the governor offers, as always, offers his recommendations, and that's what it is. It's his plan that he submits for consideration. When we're looking at that, it's a larger budget than we have seen before. We hear from the speaker that he would like to see a little bit less on that. How do you see that budget discussion overall shaping up this session?
Well, I think you have properly identified that the governor does make a recommendation. Now, it's a thoughtful recommendation and one that we certainly look at and analyze and oftentimes take guidance from. It's an aggressive number, and I don't know that we will be that high given some of the realities that we are dealing with budget-wise. And the Speaker and the Florida House have indicated similar. In fact, they believe that the governor's number is too high, and so we're going to have to balance out where the differences are. But Chairman Bradley does a great job. All the sub-chairs do, and I think you'll see a budget that really focuses on the major issues that we need to focus on, and then we'll decide whether or not there are dollars for necessary or for other issues that are not at that same level of necessity.
We've got a couple of the areas where that take up massive amounts of budget dollars. Has to do with health care, of course, and education. There's some focus on higher education this year, and the way that the universities are funded and how they spend that money has been something that's been reported on quite a bit over the last year. So let's talk about what you've been involved in higher education issues and carrying some big plans to really raise the level of higher education in the state of Florida. What challenges concern you the most as far as higher education during this session?
Well, as you recall, I did carry Senate Bill 4, and recall Senate Bill 4 was not necessarily just a big funding of the university system. It was an expansion of Bright Futures, merit-based aid, an expansion of need-based aid, and so it was more of a pupil-based approach to making sure that we had that our Florida young people and some not so young had access to an education. You're right in that there's some scrutiny, necessary scrutiny, that has come as a backlash to some of the issues that took place at University of Central Florida, and the House has been looking into those, and we've been monitoring it as well. And so, we have not the level of funding available, in my opinion, that we've had because of dealing with big ticket items like Hurricane Michael that I mentioned. And so we're going to really prioritize within that system where those dollars need to go. And from my standpoint, I think the college system, the state college system, needs to get a little more attention this session, and our technical schools need to be a item of focus for us going forward in our education.
In K through 12, you mentioned more flexibility. You mentioned more choice, parental choice and that's been talked about a great deal. And it's still a real divide between those who are within the traditional system and those who are in a system that allows parents more choice. That's shaping up to be a big debate during this session. Give us your perspective on what you'd like to see happen.
So from my perspective, and I think as people start to really analyze the way the Senate is approaching this issue, they'll see the balance, and it may soften or bevel some of the edges, as I like to say. We have within our initial education plan, first of all, a big component is the school safety, the continuation
absolutely.
on that. But then we have the family empowerment scholarship voucher program is what it is that adds to the very successful corporate tax scholarship program the ability of thousands of kids who are and families that are on the wait list to access it. But at the same time, we have reduced some of the constraint on the traditional public schools. We are working hard to see where we can land from a funding perspective that has that balance, and that's important. I've made very clear that we are adding opportunities as a supplement, not in spite of or not in lieu of. We have a great public school system, and it's there and it's uniform. Not every kid is uniform, and so there needs to be opportunity for those that are not.
Do you believe that in terms of school safety, and one of the recommendations was that teachers that be allowed to be guardians if they're trained? I mean, do you think that increases school and student safety in our schools here in the state of Florida?
Well, as you recall, I was right at the forefront of the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas School Safety Act, and we included in that act the Guardian Vice program, Coach Vice Guardian program, as well as, very importantly, the creation of a commission to hold hearings and investigate for over a year, basically. And that commission was made up of diverse folks. Many of them did not even like the Guardian program. That was the FICE program in the form that it was. And it was, remember, that was one where you could, through training, 132 hours, and working with the sheriff's office, you could become a guardian, an armed guardian on campus, but you couldn't if you were exclusively a teacher. When the commission came back, they made a long list of recommendations, from uniformity and how we handle threat assessment to school hardening, but they also recommended, and this was a change of view, including for the chairman Gualtieri, that we expand that program, because they were able to look at that situation step by step and understand whether it was realistic to just have a single safety officer at a school such as one with this type of student population, whether that was real. And so I'm not going to cherry pick their recommendations, and the Senate is picking up their recommendations because they did the investigation, they vetted it out, and we're moving forward with it.
What other issue is first in your mind that you're looking at for this session?
Well, I think we've hit on many of them. You mentioned health care. I've been working with the House. Our staff has been working together to try to work on some of those issues. We're still looking at gaming, and there are a lot of things coming through the system. We have a lot of bills that have been referred thus far, and so I'm sure more issues will reveal themselves.
Well, so you'll come back real soon so that we can talk about some more of these issues.
It's good to see you.
Good.
We'll definitely.
Thank you so much, Senate President Bill Galvano. And thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you next time. I'm Beth Switzer. Bye-bye.
You are watching the Florida Channel, connecting you to your state government.
Good morning, Senators. The Committee on Appropriations will now come to order. Will the committee assistant please call the roll?
Chair Bradley.
Here.
Senator Simpson.
Here.
Senator Bean. Here. Senator Benaquisto. Senator Book. Here. Senator Brandis. Senator Brainin.
Here.
Senator Flores. Senator Gaynor. Senator Gibson. Here. Senator Hudson. Senator Lee. Senator Mayfield. Senator Montford. Senator Pasadomo. Senator Powell.
Here.
Senator Rousseau. Senator Simmons. Senator Stargell. Senator Stewart. Senator Thurston. A quorum is present, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Alicia. Please silence all your electronic devices. Anyone wishing to speak before the committee, please complete an appearance form and hand it to our administrative assistant. Should you select to waive your speaking time, your position will be read into the record. SPB 7072 relating to criminal justice is temporarily postponed. Okay, Senators, we're going to begin with tab 1, SB 184, a bill titled Aging Programs by Senator Book. Senator Book, you're recognized to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning. And thank you for hearing Senate Bill 184, Aging Programs. The purpose of this bill is simple. We have heard from the agencies how to streamline their efforts to enforce the standards of assisted living facilities and other care homes. Rulemaking responsibilities for assisted living facilities, hospice care, adult family care homes, and adult daycare were split between the Agency for Healthcare Administration and the Department of Elder Affairs when they were moved from the Department of Health and Rehabilitative Services over 20 years ago. ACA writes most of the rules and enforces all of the rules and licenses for these programs. As a general rule, the enforcement agency should write the rules to implement the law. Senate Bill 184 will consolidate all ALF rulemaking responsibilities within ACA. This reorganization was first proposed during the 2018 session by both agencies. Both agencies are still supportive of this move, and the bill makes no substantive changes to these programs.
Okay, are there questions on the bill? There are two amendments. Our first amendment is Barcode 175178, amendment by Senator Book.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This amendment adds Florida Administrative Code 58T-1 regarding assisted living facility staff training to the list of rules transferred from DOEA to ACA.
All right. Are there questions on the amendment? I see no appearance forms on the amendment. Is there any debate on the amendment? Senator Book waiving her close on the amendment. Without objection, show the amendment adopted. We're going to now take up Amendment 499518 by Senator Book. You're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This amendment moves license and staff training requirements for adult daycare centers that specialize in Alzheimer's disease from DOEA to ACA. The bill moves some, but not all, of the relevant statutes.
Are there any questions on the amendment? I see no appearance forms on the amendment. Any debate? Senator Book, having waived her close on the amendment, seeing no objection, the amendment is adopted. We're back on the bill as amended. Are there questions on the bill as amended? I have one appearance form on the bill as amended. Brian Pitts, Trustee, Justice to Jesus.
Thank you very much. Is DEA going to exist or not by doing this? What's left for them to do, really? Okay, of course, nobody's talking about how much it costs, and that's what you're kind of supposed to do in this committee, no matter what. So, staff talks about on page 6, but then they forget to tell you how much it costs to do that transfer. It don't cost $0 to do a transfer. ACA is in one place. DEA is in another place in this county. Two different places. Now, you can use Capitol Circle Drive to get there, but they're in two different places. So are you moving the housing of those that are DEA now into ACA, or that's a cost? You have to talk about that. How much is that transfer? That's something also you would need to discuss. In the Appropriations Act, what line items would that incur, and what are those amounts? And do you want to do that? Then you say, okay, do we want to move that amount to ACA, knowing they already have a lot to do, and remove it from the duty of the Elder Affairs, which does the very things that you're moving. So what they do? It's called the Department of Elder Affairs. So leave the elder issues with that department, not ACA. Now, you can leave licensing with ACA, because yes, that's what they come in. But Elders Affairs, what do you need the department for if they're not going to do that? So, why take that money, whatever it is, from them and put it into ACA? Do ACA need that additional money? Whatever it is, of course, probably don't know what it is. Now, obviously, some of you may know what that amount is on the particular line items, FTEs that may be involved, how many, who could care less, I guess, right? We're supposed to be talking about money. I'm talking about money. I'm talking about the substantive content of the bill. I'm talking about what it will cost and should you do it. Because that's what Rule 3.13, paragraph 6 says to do. Must be considered the economic effects of the bill, future, present, and future effects. Liabilities, revenues, expenditures of any state or local entity. That's what your rule says, not what I say. That's a clear interpretation of what it says. You can look at it. Well, the committee would consider it. And it says must be considered. That's what the rule says, those things. The amendment, all those bad dates in it. I thought that's supposed to be handled in a revisor bill. 2012? Wow, this is 2019. I don't understand. This is supposed to be OLS and y'all full-time job to make sure this is there. In that amendment, mostly that's what it had. I was kind of shocked. Because y'all do revisor bills all the time with that. Yes, any obsolete material also would be considered in any bill. Whether it's the substance bill or not, yes, you do consider obsolete issues always. When you see the opportunity, you're supposed to do with it. And good an amendment is us. But then that brings up another question. The employees that are supposed to be dealing with that haven't. Why are you dealing with it? And it not being in the revisor bill, where that wet belongs. At the end of the day, here we go again. You have no appropriation tagged onto the bill. You haven't considered it. It's probably going to need it, especially if you move the housing and those particular employees from DEA to ACA or however that's going to be arranged. Remember, leasing, more rooming. That's money. That's a legitimate argument, position to think of. Okay. I guess it'll take care of itself, right?
Thank you, Mr. Pitts. Is there debate on the bill as amended? Okay. Senator Book, you're recognized to close on the bill as amended.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm going to waive close.
Will the committee assistant please call the roll on CS for SB 184?
Senator Bean? Yes. Senator Benaquisto? Senator Book? Senator Brandes? Senator Brannan? Yes. Senator Flores? Yes. Senator Gaynor? Senator Gibson? Senator Hudson? Senator Lee? Senator Mayfield? Yes. Senator Montford? Yes. Senator Pasadomo? Yes. Senator Powell? Yes. Senator Rousseau? Yes. Senator Simmons? Yes. Senator Stargill? Senator Stewart? Yes. Senator Thurston? Yes. Senator Simpson?
Yes.
Chair Bradley?
Yes, and by your vote, CS for SB 184 is reported favorably. Senators, I wanted to welcome from Clay County our doctor of the day, my friend, Dr. Mark Dobertine. Mark, good to see you. All right, we're going to go to tab 2, CS for SB 188. It's a bill on the Department of Health presented by our friend Senator Harrell. The Appropriations Subcommittee on Health and Human Services recommends proposed committee substitute barcode 114864. Is there any objection to taking up the PCS? Without objection, take up the PCS. Senator Harrell, you're recognized to explain the PCS.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Senate Bill 188 updates numerous provisions relating to health practitioners and facilities regulated by the Department of Health Division of Medical Quality Assurance. The bill is requested by the department and makes revisions that have been needed for several years. The bill authorizes DOH rulemaking for responsibilities relating to maximizing the use of existing programs and coordinating stakeholders and resources to develop a state strategic plan including the process for selecting physicians under the Conrad 30 waiver program. It requires the applicant's date of birth on health professional license applications, repeals the requirements for the Board of Medicine to conduct a review of organizations that board-certified physicians in dermatology, defines contact classroom hour for chiropractic continuing education, and authorizes 10 hours of online general credit for CE, deregulates registered chiropractic assistants, grants rulemaking authority to the Board of Nursing to establish standards of practice, including discipline and standards for practice for certified nursing assistants, recognizes CNA certification in the United States territories of the District of Columbia for certification in Florida, and eliminates the element of intent for violations in the Practice Act of CNAs. It repeals the requirement for Florida dentists and dental hygienists to grade dental and dental hygienist licensure examinations. It requires dentists and dental hygienists to report adverse incidents to the Board of Dentistry. It further requires an athletic trainer to work within his or her scope of practice as defined by the Board of Athletic Trainers, and revises the education and internship requirements for licensure. It requires DOH to issue a single prostheticist or orthotist license to qualified applicants, and establishes the educational requirements for dual registration. It limits massage therapy apprenticeships to those in colonic irrigations, and authorizes the Board of Massage Therapy to take action against a massage therapy establishment and individuals providing services therein under certain circumstances. It further updates the name of the accreditation body for psychology programs and revises the requirements for psychology licensure. It limits the Board of Clinical Social Work, marriage and family therapists, and mental health counseling to issuances of only one additional internship registration, and revises the licensure requirements for marriage and family therapists and licensed mental health counselors, and deletes obsolete language and makes technical conforming changes. That is the very comprehensive bill.
Are there questions on the bill? There are 3 amendments. The first is barcode 430820, an amendment by Senator Harrell. You're recognized.
Okay. This amendment removes sections of the bill containing modifications to continuing education for chiropractors. This issue has not been fully resolved between the Board of Chiropractic Medicine and various stakeholders. So it was, since this is to be a department bill and has been worked through the whole process to make sure that this is non-controversial, this is now eliminated.
Are there questions on the amendment? There are no appearance forms on this particular amendment. Is there any debate? Senator Harrell, having waived or closed on the amendment, all in favor of the amendment say yay. Yay. Any opposed? Hearing none, the amendment is adopted. Take up Amendment 973632. Senator Harrell, you're recognized.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. This amendment deals with Health Access Licensure Program, which will sunset on January 1, 2020. Both the Department of Health and the Florida Dental Association agree the program should be saved from repeal. The amendment extends the sunset to 2020. This program is designed to attract dentists to practice in medically underserved settings in Florida by allowing out-of-state dentists who meet certain criteria to practice within those settings. The department recommends that reenacting this will provide a pathway for many people to have dental care who would not have without it. Currently, there are 58 dental access dental licenses for provision of dental care for Floridians in medically underserved areas.
Are there questions on the amendment? Yes. Senator Brandis, you're recognized.
Thank you, and thanks for bringing this important topic up. Do you know if there's any counties in the state without a dentist?
No, sir, I do not know specifically, Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
I do not know specifically if there are any areas. I know through this program, these dentists are employed mostly in health departments and in dental clinics to make sure that there is dental care available. But I know there are several bills to address the dental shortage.
Any other questions? I do have one appearance form. Alexandria Abood from the Florida Dental Association. Waving in support. Is there any debate on the amendment? Yeah. Senator Brandes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I plan to fully support this amendment. It's a good amendment. We have many communities that are underserved. I think the latest report I saw showed that we have 5.5 million people in the state of Florida that don't have access to adequate dental care. And so it's critically important that we provide a pathway for access for underserved communities, rural communities. And I think there are a number of counties there where there is just one dentist or fewer dentists in them. And so I really appreciate you bringing this amendment. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other debate? I would add a voice to Senator Brandes' underlying description of the state of play in Florida today in certain areas of our state. There are a lack of dentists in certain areas of our state, and this amendment is an important step. I believe there's 58 dentists, as I understand it, from our previous conversations, Chair Harrell, that utilize this program to provide services to communities that otherwise probably would not be receiving those dental services. And so that being the case, I think this is important that we continue this program, and I appreciate you bringing it forward as well. You're recognized to close on the amendment.
Thank you. I just would clarify one point. There are 58 current licenses. I believe there are 37 practicing dentists.
Wonderful.
But it certainly is a step in the right direction. Hopefully that there will be more that will take advantage of this opportunity.
Thanks for that clarification. It means we got work to do, right?
Absolutely, sir.
That's why we need this program. All in favor of the amendment say yay. Yay. Any opposed? The amendment is adopted. Let's take up Amendment 661862 by Senator Harrell. Senator Harrell, you're recognized to explain the amendment.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. When the bill was originally filed, it contained certain provisions on dental laboratory licensure that were removed from the bill due to concerns over a conflict with the Constitution's new requirement regarding taxes and fees. There was a concern that it would need a fee bill in order to do this. The issue has been resolved with this amendment language, which accomplishes the same goal without creating new fees. That is the amendment, sir.
Okay, you've heard an explanation. Are there any questions on the amendment? I do have several appearance cards, and I'm going to begin with Jillian, and I apologize if I mispronounce anybody's name. I'm really going to try my best, and no disrespect intended. Hideas, who is Florida Dental Laboratory Association Executive Director. Excellent, I nailed it. Waving in support. Eric Thorne, Florida Dental Laboratory Association. Waving in support. Alexandra Abood, Florida Dental Association. Waving in support. Is there any debate on the amendment? Senator Harrell, having waived or closed on the amendment, all in favor of the amendment say yay. Yay. Any opposed? Hearing none, the amendment is adopted. We're back on the bill as amended. Are there any questions on the bill as amended? I do have some appearance cards for the underlying bill as amended. Steve Wynn, Executive Director, Florida Osteopathic Medical Association. Waving in support. Thank you, sir. Brian Pitts, Justice to Jesus, Trustee.
Thank you very much. Of course, this is not a substantive committee, really. I mean, you can talk about that by all means, but at the end of the day, you end up having to, at least supposed to be talking about the money. And, yeah, how much it costs? Large bill. Nothing it costs? I don't think so. On page 24, staff analysis, and sometimes I don't like this, but hey, here's what it is. And it says there, the bill has no impact on state revenues and expenditures. That's what it says. I'm getting ready to surprise you on just one thing. In the bill, line 364, it repeals the chiropractic assistance. That program you registered, it was voluntary.
Sorry, what assistance?
Yes. Already has been a long day for me. Okay.
Chiropractic.
Yes. Assistance. Okay. Now, it's voluntary, but some have volunteered to pay. The fee, it can exceed no more than $25. Well, guess what? If you get rid of that, they lose that revenue. I thought you said there's no impact. Well, there's definitely those who have registered. And the department says, the staff says on page 7, around 3,800. That's a lot. That's what? So that's like $50,000, $75,000 they no longer will get biannually. Wait a minute. I thought you said it was no impact to the agency. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to talk about the other ones. Nevertheless, that's one without question. Okay, there's nothing to talk about on that one. Rule authority is being given where it usually does not have. Licensure requirements have been changed where it does not exist but now will qualify. That means changes to forms, rules, applications must change. In some cases, software to change that into the system. That all costs money, whoever the form, the paper, the FTE that makes the changes, all that costs. CBA usually solves that problem, but we don't use that concept to figure out the cost of things. Cost-benefit analysis. If you used it, you would be able to figure this out. Wait a minute, I thought you said it was no cost. No appropriation added to this bill. Again. Now, you missed something. Line 648, line 1003. You got these old dates. They're not struck through in the bill. They're not grandfather dates either. That's obsolete language you probably hear. That's just two-part sections in the bill. Where it's a bad date, it should be struck through and it's not. I'm not going to talk about the other lines in the bill where it's got other bad dates that should have been struck through. I guess y'all missed that too. I don't know what's going on. It's not my job. It's you, your staff, OLS job to do this. Not me. I mean, you can take it for what it is. I just tell you what it is. You look at it, you'll see. So there's a fiscal impact on the bill. You don't know what to discuss about it. And now that it's a large bill. Where you going to start? Here we go again. Your own Senate rule, 3.13, paragraph 1. I just explained some of it to you. That's kind of what you're supposed to do. But we're not going to do that. So here we go again. I just take care of itself. And the worst thing about it, y'all supposed to be custodians of this money. It's not your money. But I guess that's the attitude you have on it. But okay. This is appropriation needed for the bill, but okay. I guess whatever.
All right. Senator Harrell, the bill does seem long. Is something wrong? Please address in your close. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Yes, the bill is a comprehensive bill that really addresses issues that the Department of Health has been really trying to modernize and update over the last several years. Due to various issues along the way, it has not passed over several years. So this has really been worked very well between the Department of Health, the House, and the Senate, and it truly will update our statutes for the Department of Health. And I ask for your favorable support.
Thank you. Will the committee assistant please call the roll on CS for SB 188?
Senator Bean? Yes. Senator Benaquisto? Senator Book? Senator Brandes? Senator Brannan? Yes. Senator Flores? Yes. Senator Gaynor? Senator Gibson? Senator Hudson? Yes. Senator Lee? Senator Mayfield? Yes. Senator Montford? Yes. Senator Pasadomo? Senator Powell? Senator Rousseau? Yes. Senator Simmons? Yes. Senator Stargell? Yes. Senator Stewart? Yes. Senator Thurston? Yes. Senator Simpson? Yes. Chair Bradley?
Yes, and by your vote, CS for SB 188 is reported favorably.
Thank you.
Does any senator wish to be recorded as voting on a bill before the committee today? Any other business before the committee? Vice Chair Simpson moves we adjourn. Seeing no objection, that motion is adopted. We are adjourned.
You are watching the Florida Channel.